Welcome back. I hope that you've been having a great week so far. And I'm just excited to share something that Penny, who joined Brave Academy recently, she posted publicly. I am doing this program and I have made more progress in 2 weeks than I have in 30 years. It is well worth the time, the effort, the money. Try it. But imagine that 2 weeks, more progress in 2 weeks than 30 years. Now, I cannot take all the credit because she is using the tools that she's learning, she's applying it. And if you're listening and you feel like you've been on a healing journey for so long and you've been trying to overcome anxiety and regulate your emotions and this and that, and nothing seems to be working the way that you want it, don't give up because maybe what you've tried so far just isn't a good fit or is an old model that is not working for people anymore. So I just wanted to share that with you to inspire you about what is possible. Now, when we think of anxiety, we often picture the obvious things like the worry, the fear, the racing thoughts, the sensations in the body, including panic attacks. But anxiety doesn't always look that way. And many people are actually living with anxiety without even realizing it. Today, what I want to do is share a few subtle, sneaky signs of anxiety that often fly under the radar so that you can build awareness and begin addressing what is really going on. A few months ago, I was speaking to somebody who insisted, passionately insisted, that she did not struggle with anxiety. And she said, "Oh, yeah, I know somebody who does, and I don't have those problems." And maybe she's right. But then as we started talking more, she said a few things that sparked a little flag in my head. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe she just doesn't know exactly what anxiety is. She shared that she feels like she's a people pleaser and a perfectionist. And in a few minutes, I'll share the connection that both of these actually have to anxiety. But first, why does anxiety often go unnoticed? Well, some people have just been living with low grade anxiety for so long that they think it is just who they are. And others are under such a state of stress that they haven't really parsed out or separated those things. Now, I have a unique opinion about stress, and I'm not going to dive into all that right now. But if you're looking at stress as something that happens to you, life will feel a lot harder. And it doesn't have to be like that. But to refocus back on anxiety, if you've been listening to this podcast for any amount of time, you know that I'm an advocate for ditching the limiting belief that this is just the way that I am. If you believe that's just the way that you are, you will always be that way. Your mind isn't going to put any effort into overcoming it. So, next, let's dive into 10 sneaky signs that you may be anxious and not realize it. And then as you're listening, I just want you to ask yourself how many of these describe me or reflect how I've been showing up. Number one, overthinking your decisions. This might look like constantly replaying conversations, worrying that you said the quote unquote wrong thing, needing to get everything just right, or fearing that you're going to make the wrong decision, which, by the way, what if there are no wrong decisions? Number two, trouble sleeping or waking up exhausted or maybe having trouble staying asleep. So, difficulty falling asleep because your mind won't quiet down. It keeps going through a to do list, keeps rehashing stuff, difficulty staying asleep, or just waking up tired, even though technically you had enough hours of sleep. This may be a sign that your cortisol levels are high. And it also may be a sign that you are mismanaging your thoughts and your emotions, which is actually causing them to do the opposite of what you want, which is actually causing them to persist. rather than to go away. What I found, and I've just seen in hundreds, I mean, probably thousands of people at this point, is that they're actually relating to their thoughts and emotions in a way that makes them persist. Even though they think they're pushing them away, they just keep coming back and back and back. Number three, physical tension that might be jaw clenching, might be tight shoulders, might be stomach issues. Anxiety very often shows up in the body before the mind even catches on. Number four, getting easily irritated. So snapping at pretty small things, feeling overwhelmed by minor inconveniences can also be a sign that your nervous system is overloaded, and it does not have to be that way. Number five, always needing to be busy. Maybe you find that you struggle to relax or you can't sit still. That can be a way of avoiding anxious thoughts. And this could look like filling your day with work or exercise or taking care of others. Number six, perfectionism and fear of making mistakes. You'll see, and if you've been listening for a while, you know that I did a whole episode on making mistakes and promoting making mistakes. So definitely go back and listen to that one if you haven't listened yet. But this is putting immense pressure on yourself to avoid failure. And that actually can stem from underlying anxiety. So I want you to just check in with yourself. How do you define failure? To what extent are you focused on avoiding making mistakes? And what are you afraid is going to happen if you make one? Number seven is avoiding certain situations, even if you don't fully understand why, or even if you think that you do understand why. This could look like canceling plans or avoiding making certain plans. It could be avoiding certain people or staying clear of certain situations that bring up that discomfort. What might happen if you expand your tolerance to feel all of it? I'll give you that answer. You'll be free. And that is the work. When you avoid certain situations, those situations will control you forever until you choose differently. Number eight is procrastination. We might think about this as chronic or reoccurring procrastination. Anxiety can show up as avoidance and putting things off because they feel too overwhelming. Procrastination is not always, but almost always associated with avoiding feeling something. And so you can ask yourself, what am I avoiding feeling? And some people might say, well, I don't know, Steph, and I'm here to help you figure that out for sure. And it's good to take some time. And you can even ask yourself, what if I do know? And see what comes out. Number nine is over apologizing or people pleasing. And this is just feeling discomfort, anxiety about upsetting others or being perceived as difficult or being perceived as unhelpful. And then number 10 is feeling constantly restless or on edge. That sense that you can't, fully relax, even when everything is technically fine. How many of these resonate with how you've been showing up? I want you to be honest with yourself because an honest reflection really does matter because unacknowledged anxiety does not disappear. It often builds up and can impact health and relationships and the quality of life. And I know that you don't want those things. Awareness is the first step to healing and overcoming these obstacles because they're not personal flaws. Even if up to now you have thought these are personal flaws, they're not. You did not come out of the womb like this. And if your reaction is, I don't know, Steph, my mom, my dad says I've always been anxious. Well, I doubt when you were 1 week old that they could see anxiety in you. I just have a hard time believing that. Now, might some have a propensity to worrying more, perhaps, but that doesn't mean that it's not something that you cannot shift in yourself. I've seen it way too many times to agree on that. You're not broken. You're certainly not alone. Anxiety is a signal. It's a signal that your mind and your body want support. And if you're ready to ditch anxiety for good, I have exciting news. I put together a brand new free training where I reveal the 4-step process that I guide all my clients through so that they can break free from anxiety. All you have to do to register is go to www.brave-method.com/anxiety or click on that link in the show notes, and I will see you there.